Peace, world. How you doing? This is your brother Mikey Fever. Another episode of NYP Talk Show. It's been a minute. I miss y'all, but I'm glad that I'm back. Tonight we got two special guests. We have Xenia Rodriguez and Omar Xenia. If I said it correctly, right? Let me know if I said it
Xenia,
correctly.
yes.
Xenia, all right, I got you. And we will be talking about Shango and Obatala, the dual powers of Lokumi tradition, which is going to be a great show, very informative to our listeners and our viewers. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe. We got super chat, like the live, share it, let us know, give us some feedback on what's going on. And I'm gonna have our good guests take it away. Welcome to the platform, people.
Appreciate you for having us here. And we've been trying to do this for a while,
Yeah,
trying to set this up for a while. So we're happy that we can finally, be here with you and your followers. And we're here for any questions that anybody may have.
appreciate that. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. It's been a while, yeah. Cause trying to reach you, I know you guys been busy. It's been a busy month, I know, because this time of the year, there's a lot
Absolutely.
going on. There's a lot going on. See, the chat is lighting up. They love you guys.
Yeah,
You know,
at the end of the year for I know for multiple practices, but especially for us in Lukumi, it's a very crazy time because that's when a lot of the feast days come in and so a lot of people are like moving and doing they start doing the end of the year bowls and stuff like
yeah.
that. But I am glad and happy that you're giving me this opportunity, so I appreciate you.
No, it's all love. Anytime. Listen, this platform is for the people, man. We at NYP, we are about elevating, changing our narratives for the whole diaspora, continental Africans, even the blacks, Black Americans on this continent as well. So we call it edutainment, to educate people, the proper education about different cultures, not what you hear from these, you know, pale pastors that talk bad
Okay.
about this culture. But I'm not going to go into that right now.
Gotcha.
So, so give us a history, a rundown. How did you guys get into this culture?
I'm
Of-
gonna let my husband introduce himself since he is an Oluo and
Well, I was going to let you go first, actually.
okay.
whoever
No.
you can flip a coin on it. Whoever want to go first, you can
I
flip a
was
coin on
really,
it.
No,
I was
go.
really, you beat me to it because I was really gonna kind of like let you go first. All
No.
right, so my name is actually Omar Pinate.
Peace, peace.
I was actually born in Jersey, and I grew up in Los Angeles, California. I am the
Hmm.
son of a Cuban mother and a Panamanian father.
Peace.
And a little bit of quick history. I grew up in the religion, in the Lukumi tradition of what we call Ifa or Regla de Ocha, or Lukumi or Santeria, which are basically different terms that describe the very same thing.
Okay.
All right. So Santeria, Lukumi, Regla de Ocha, Ifa, all these things, all these terms in Cuba at least are the very same thing. Just
Hmm.
different terms that are used intertwined. And I grew up in it. By
Oh,
that I
peace.
mean that my mother was initiated in Cuba when she was 14. She was initiated by my great grandmother.
Mm.
So my great grandmother in our family was the first to be initiated. My great grandmother was initiated into the secrets of Ochun, in the town of Matanzas, which is near Havana. Even though my great grandmother was from Guantanamo, she was
Okay.
initiated first. She returned to Guantanamo, and my mother got sick at the age of 14, and so my great grandmother initiated her. And then from there, it just spread throughout my family. My great grandmother pretty much initiated our entire family on my mother's side. So I grew up, from as far back as I can remember, seeing
Mm.
Eshu, Ogun, Ochosi in the corner of behind the door.
Yeah.
I've always heard the word Obatala and Shango
Yeah.
and Ochun and Yemaya. So I grew up with these words. In fact, when I grew up as a child, I thought that everybody would get cleansings with with different animals and different herbs and different. I thought it was normal.
Yeah, yeah.
It was. They would call me. They'd come cleanse me real quick, and then they'd tell me to go play. So I thought it was normal until I got to a certain age, and I started going to my friends' homes, and I was like, okay, wait a minute, we do something that not a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, that's pretty much my history. I
Hmm.
didn't come into this. I didn't start my practice or what I would say my journey until my 30s. Right, I'm
That's dope.
50. I'm 52 now, but
Bro,
I
you
didn't
don't look
start my journey until my 30s.
you don't look
Uh,
on 50, bro.
yeah, no, I get that. I get that a lot.
Word on the street, he's Illuminati, so you know.
Yeah, yeah, it's okay.
So I grew up asking one of my uncles who was initiated, and I asked him, how come I wasn't a part of everything besides the cleansings? But how come I wasn't, further into the religion? And he said, no, it doesn't work like that. It works
Mhm.
when you need it. When
Okay.
it's almost like a calling,
Yep.
right? And back in the
Mhm.
day, I'm talking back in the 50s, you normally it wasn't normal for people to be initiated, right? It was normal for people maybe to get readings, but to get initiated, that wasn't normal. There were
Mm.
two things that normally had to happen for somebody to really get to the point where they would get initiated. One was you had some type of illness, right? Serious illness, or that you
Mhm.
had some type of legal issue where you were facing prison time for a lot of years, and they
Mhm.
would do something, and maybe the orisha would say, okay, you know what, for you to maybe not necessarily avoid prison, but maybe not get as many years as they're trying to give you, you have to
Mhm.
crown, you have to be initiated. So those were two aspects.
Yeah.
Everything changed in the 90s, at least in Cuba.
Mm.
Because prior to the 90s, this religion was very underground still in Cuba. It was very underground. It was illegal in most cases. Not wanting to get too political, but
We already know, yeah.
yeah, it was Cuba. You couldn't practice openly,
Mhm.
right? Those kids who or anybody who was initiated and were doing their year in white,
Mhm.
they would get chastised. They would lose their jobs at work. The children, if they were initiated, they would get chastised at work. I mean, at school, excuse me. Um, things, for example, field trips. Those children that were dressed in all white, they wouldn't take them on field trips. So there was a lot of discrimination.
Oh,
But somehow, for some reason, in the 90s, it took off.
that's beautiful. That's deep right there. I always find it like odd how they ostracize something that's so culturally, that's so ingrained in the culture, but due to colonialism and trying to appease people, you got to hide it. But
Right.
meanwhile, they practice your craft and they don't hide it. That was always odd to me. That's always odd to me. In your history, Sister Sanaya.
Xenia?
I was born in Cuba. I came to Miami. I always say I'm from Miami because every time I claim I'm from Cuba, the Cubans are like, "No, you're not. You're a gringa." So I say I'm from Miami. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I came. I was born in La Habana. I came to Miami when I was 4 years old. My family wasn't as big into Lukumi, into Regla de Ocha.
Mm-hmm.
They were more into what we call espiritismo, what we call, mayombe, which is palo mayombe, as many know
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had elders that were babalaos, like my mom's uncles and stuff like that. But other than initiations, I think I only had one aunt who's Ibae. She's no longer with us. But
No.
later on,
Peace.
my generation, that's when we started, there was people that was crowning and stuff like that. Um, I'm from Miami. I moved over here. We moved over here to Tampa about 3 years ago. but I
Mhm.
am originally from down there, from down south, from Miami. So
That's
um
peace.
yes.
She's
Um
trying to be politically
You're
correct,
correct. I hear
but
that.
she's 305.
to the death of me.
Yeah.
She's
um I am crown Obatala. Next year in a couple months in March, I'll be 9 years crown Obatala, or
Mhm.
initiated as a child of Obatala.
Mhm.
Um and that's pretty much it.
oh, I
I
didn't
like
mention.
my you didn't, babe.
I
All right,
am crowned. I too, as
huh?
Xenia is, I too am crowned Obatala. I've been crowned since for 15 years.
Mm,
And I was initiated. I'm initiated now 11 years as a babalao.
that's dope. All right, that's
So,
a lot of responsibility. Heavy as the head that wear the crown, huh?
Che,
Yeah, no, Batala's very not only do we share the same Heroricha, we
Mhm.
share the same mother in Ocha as well. So when me and him first met, it was kind of like, are you stalking me? Is this like for real, for real? Is this like
Match made in
somebody
heaven.
sending you? Because you don't see that. It's not very common for married couples to share the same mom and father,
So
so that's pretty cool to share.
yeah, and our
it was
birthdays
written in the
are
stars.
our birthdays are one day apart.
Yeah, our Ocha birthdays are
Yo,
very
So I was initiated the 16th of March, and she was initiated on the 17th of March.
oh, that's wow. Yo, it's funny how the conversation we had prior to the show, right? It's like correct me if I'm wrong, chat. Like Obatala is kind of similar to Dumbala in Haitian voodoo, and his day is March 17th. Yo, this is crazy. Listen,
Wow. Oh, wow. I
but
didn't
they
know
call it like St.
that.
Patrick,
Wow.
but it's kind of wild. So
Wow.
being that
Yeah,
we
it
on
was
this,
it was it
go
was
Jack, go.
cool when we met, sharing that, and to this day it still gets me emotional because I was like, it's very rare. I remember my godmother, when I introduced him, my godmother was like, "Oh my God, you guys share like pretty much like, that's just crazy." So it's a blessing, it's a blessing. And Maferefungo Batala every day. And we're also born from the same Oricha as well. So, meaning both our godmothers, even though they're two different people, they're
Mhm.
both crowned Ochung as well. So, we have a lot of, when it comes to religion, we have a lot of things that are very, very similar. So, it's a
So
blessing.
that's powerful, right? So I mean, the spirit. When you're angry at one another, the spirit like, hey, 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 you better go fix that right there. Right? Hey, slow,
Right.
slow that down
Yeah,
right there.
definitely. Definitely.
That's beautiful. So being that we are Obatala, right? What is the role of Obatala as the Orisha of wisdom, purity, and creation?
I'm gonna tell before my husband could speak. I think Obatala is everything. Not just,
Mm,
I don't say this just because he's my head oricha. I think Obatala is literally everything. He's the beginning, he's the end. Without him, there is nothing,
that's
even when it comes to, our initiation and our year and 7 days of all white, he is the judge of how we behave. That's why when it comes to us children of our Batala, when we're doing our year, which is called Yawuraje,
mhm.
it's some of the hardest things that anybody could experience. He puts it to us to test us, because
For
that's
real.
he's the judge of that year and 7 days. Um,
Wow.
so to me, even I always used to hear my elders say those words. He's the beginning and the end. He's everything. He's the but when I worked and I was able to actually see an initiation, I was
Mhm.
like, wow, he is, without him, there's nothing, you know.
So he gives birth, like as they
So
say, in street, he's the HNIC. He's the like this is me.
so right.
uh,
Obatala is very important
mhm.
because he is the creator of all heads.
Got you.
He was the Orisha who was instructed by Olodumare to create everyone's head. Even though he wasn't, there are other Orishas that played a part in creating humanity. For example, Oduduwa. right?
Mm-hmm.
Oduduwa, who is another orisha that is known as the orisha funfuns, or the orishas of white, because Obatala is the owner of white. Everything that has to do with white cloth, cotton, everything
Mm-hmm.
that's white. Um, so that's where the purity comes from. And so Obatala was given the task of creating everyone's head, and that's why he's known as the owner of heads, right?
Uh,
And Oduduwa assisted him by giving everybody this a spirit.
got you. So when you say creating heads, right? And let me know if you could go, deep into this as far as like the person's personality, like they ori, am I correct? Something like that, or
Well,
which
Ori,
divinity?
it's more of the physical. It's
Okay.
it's almost like taking a piece of clay, and he was in
Mm-hmm.
charge of molding
Ache.
everyone's head. So to physically making
Got you.
everyone's head where Ori would reside in.
Oh, okay, okay. I gotta talk to Obatala, man. What's up with some people's head shapes, man? Like, yo, bro, what
It's
happened?
interesting. It's interesting that you mentioned that, though. But there's a reason for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Obatala, being the owner of all heads, there's a story. There's a pataki that relates to a situation that Obatala got himself into,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where, because he was drinking alcohol or palm wine, I'm not too sure what they call it in Nigeria, but basically he was
Mm-hmm.
drinking alcohol, and so under this state, he created heads that weren't necessarily what he would have created had he been sober. And so
Got you.
that's why when there is a person that is born with some type of what we would call some type of deficiency or some type of handicap or something of that nature, we
Mm,
automatically say that they are children, direct children of Obatala,
Ache.
got you.
right?
That-
And
That's
this is
that's deep.
why Obatala's children are not supposed to drink alcohol, because of this
Mm,
particular story, right? In fact,
mm,
children that are, for example, albinos,
mm-hmm.
they are automatically children of Obatala.
Word.
They're considered automatically children of Obatala, or any person that is born with some type of handicap, some type of illness, are automatically considered children of Obatala.
Oh, that's deep. I gotta get more into that, yo. You guys are giving me. I'm absorbing all this. Like, what? This is deep.
Yeah, it's
And he's big in the sense, like, that's why I say he's everything, because
Mm-hmm.
for those who don't have their head oricha pulled in a life or death situation where they have to rush the person to initiate, it's
Mm-hmm.
Obatala who they crown, and nothing will happen to
Got
them
you.
because he's the father of all heads.
To balance
So
you out.
that's why,
Got you.
to me, that's why I'd say without him, there's pretty much, nothing, Maferefun Batala every single day, because, not only did he do what my husband mentioned, but he
Mm-hmm.
plays an important role in everyone's life. It doesn't matter what your heroricha is.
Got you. And that's dope. He's about the intelligence, and it sounds like from the story what you say, like the liquid with the alcohol involved. It sounds like he's like that. Call him the DNA, the originator of
I
everything
think with
from.
him, there's no. When I describe Obatala, I think there's no middle ground. It's
Yeah.
either, it's that happens to their children. His children. It's like, we're either like
Mm-hmm.
have to live the way that he lived his good side, or some will
Mm-hmm.
live the bad that he lived. So that's pretty a cool thing of seeing. Like, I think children of Obatala are one of the very little orichas or children of orichas that are not the same. Like, for example, you see a lot of children of Ochun and they'll have certain things that are very similar. You have others,
Yeah.
but Obatala's children here in our house, for example, we do ceremonies and there's like 6, 7 children of Obatala, and none of us are the same. It's just so
Yeah.
unique
Yeah.
to
Mm-hmm.
see that energy, you know, being him here, yet we're all so different in
Different.
our own ways. Like I love seeing that, especially with his children.
That's dope. That's dope. That is so dope. So I got that. So we know how Obatala is connected to the formation of humanity and the cosmology of Yoruba's practices, and I mean Ifa, right? We're gonna jump into the hot headed one, Shango. Right? What are the
Oh,
primary attributes and powers associated with Shango in Lukumi tradition? And to the listeners and viewers, we're gonna be going back and forth. So don't think that we leaving things out. We're just going back and forth between the two. Go ahead.
So, so the qualities of Chango.
Hmm.
First, Chango is even though Obatala is of utmost importance, and Obatala is senior to Chango. Chango is considered the king of the religion,
Hmm.
right? He's the king of the religion. There are many ceremonies, many different types of initiations where he has to be present,
gotcha.
right?
Got
Where
you.
this particular orisha has to be present. But of course, some of the characteristics, and there are many, but some of the characteristics of Chango is his strong character,
Hmm.
right? His strong character, his tenacity or his tendency to make decisions without really thinking them out beforehand.
Hmm.
His tendency to speak without really thinking before, without thinking of what you're going to say. So he tends to be a little harsh with the words.
Hmm.
Um,
Somebody say ego problem.
it could be.
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be an ego problem. It could be just harsh, just wanting to get, even if it's a positive message, it comes out in a certain way. These are
Mm.
certain characteristics. Something about Chango is that Chango had a past, right? And
Mm.
all of these things are in stories that are found in Ifa, right? In patakis or in stories that are found in Ifa.
Hmm.
I'm very close to this particular Orisha, even though I am initiated as a priest of Obatala and my mother's Ochun, and I'm a Babalao, so I'm a priest of Orunmila. But I'm very close to Chango because my Odu of Ifa is Okanameji. And that's the sign, that's the Odu where Chango came to earth, came down, or came
Hmm.
up if we think of the Yoruba uh, understanding of things, right? And Chango, prior to him being given this name, because Chango is actually like a title,
Okay.
right? The word Chango is actually like a title, and he had several names before becoming the king of Oyo. But in this particular Odu Okanameyi, there are stories that talk about him prior to him being a king and how, his nature. He was very mischievous. He was very into all types of, everything that you could think of that was illegal. He was that was
Hmm.
Chango, but he transitioned. Eventually he transitioned to becoming the king of Oyo. So those things that were
Mm.
negative, he left behind. And it's very
Beautiful.
important to understand that we are human beings. We are not the Orishas.
Gotcha.
And so,
Yo, I'm glad you said that, bro. Hold on. I gotta
yeah.
give you. I mean, where my sound effects at? Let me see. I'll find the right one. You know what I'm saying? Because we got people. We got people. Let me tell you. I've come across people from different practices, and some of them will take the attributes. They'll personify the
Yeah,
orisha.
no.
I'm like this because it's orisha, and I'm
Gotcha.
like,
And that's
No,
wrong.
no, no.
I'm like, you just a drunk nigga. But anyway,
Mm,
Yeah, no,
yep.
we are not the Orishas.
yeah.
So the stories are there to give us
Mhm.
advice and for us to learn from those things that Chango went through before he became Chango, the king of Oyo,
Mhm.
right? And that's why, for example, and I'll just break down my Odu. Okana Mei is an Odu that talks about transformation. I'll try to keep it as short as possible. Talks
Yeah, go
about
ahead.
transformation.
Mhm.
Transformation of what? transformation of being a person that perhaps didn't have an organized life to one that is organized. Why? Because in that Odu, Shango went through that transformation from
Gotcha.
being from being a person that was into negative things into being somebody that was positive and becoming the king of Oyo. Um, of course, Shango was he was into women, because he represents masculinity. He's like one
I
of the
heard, I heard,
orishas
I
that,
heard of that too. I'm in
right?
trouble.
But again, why are the stories there? The story is not there to say, oh, if I'm a child of Shango, I can be a womanizer. No,
Mm-mm.
right? Because those stories are there to give an example of problems that were created from because of his character, his nature,
Lack of
right?
discipline. Yep.
Lack of discipline,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's why the Odun Okanamei says you have to be careful because that is an Odu where sexually transmitted diseases is paramount.
And before you continue, brother Omar, because you are dropping like I'm just like I'm listening, absorbing all this. Like I heard this before, but to hear both of you guys go back and forth, it's like a verbal textbook. You said Odu, right? Can you if possible, can you clarify or elaborate on what
So
Odu is?
so
Mm-hmm.
Odu are the roughly translated are the signs of Ifa, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are 256 Odu. Getting a little more technical,
Mm-hmm.
Odu was an actual deity.
Like,
I'll put it that way.
oh wow.
Odu is a deity. In fact, Odu is a female deity.
I
And
agree.
Odu
Mm-hmm.
married Orunmila.
I agree. I agree.
And she was who kind of like gave Orunmila. That's why I mean this gets deep, right?
No,
Because a lot of
it's
times
dope.
they say that the Babalao is masculine or there's like this male dominance in Ifa. But a lot of people don't know that
Mhm.
without Odu, who is female, there is no Ifa, right? So Odu are the just to keep it simple, Odus are the signs of Ifa,
Mhm.
which there's 256 Odu.
Yeah. Can I add one thing too? I know
Sure.
from what I was told, like the E5, that's like the actual first computer language ever written because it's like zeros and ones, right?
The zeros and
And
ones.
and that's why I respectfully say, I'm gonna catch flack on this. It's not being sexist, people. I'm just saying it comes like it gives birth to things because you get multiple correlation 256 like this like computer languages zeros and ones binaries whatever. But I get the concept of calling it the woman. Now I see it like, oh wow, that is true. It's the Matrix, not in a bad sense, but it is the Matrix.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Odu is female.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, but then that's why without Odu present, there can be no Babalao. Because
Mm.
this specific deity, and I don't want to get into secrets now, but this
No, no,
specific
no,
deity has to be present for somebody to become a Babalao. But in general sense, Odu, when I'm talking about Odu, I'm talking about the 256 Odus of Ifa, which are the signs of Ifa.
got you. That's dope, man. Oh, you got me all over the place. I'm like, oh man. So, what is the relationship between Shango and divination in local meat practice?
The relationship between Shango and divination.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Well, here's a little story, real quick. Shango actually used to be what Orunmila is now. In other words, Orunmila, Shango used to be the diviner.
Mm-hmm.
He was originally given the instruction or the task of being the diviner. of doing everything that Orunmila does. But
Mm,
Shango wasn't interested.
mm,
He wanted a party. He was a party guy. He wanted to be, the
mm.
women, the drinking. That was his thing, especially music, right? The
Gotcha.
bata drums. That was his thing. And Orunmila was the musician, and so Chango traded with
Mm,
Orunmila. He said, "Hey, listen, take this board that I do divination with, and take these tools
mm,
and give me the drums and give me the music." And so
mm,
there was a switch. And so when it comes to a divination, it's Orunmila who does the
mm.
divining, as well as orishas, for example, Elegua or Eshu
Yeah.
Elegua, depending on your lineage and your tradition. Uh,
Is that
you can
African power stuff like that, if I'm correct
That's
on that?
different.
Okay,
No,
okay. Just
that's a little different
that's a
than
little
what he's
different. Okay.
talking about.
All
But
right, got you.
there's a different system that the Olorishas or that the Orishas use, which are the cowrie shells, the Dilogún system,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's Ifa, which is the system that is used by Orunmila.
Mm-hmm.
I think Chango is very involved in the divination, especially through his children, because 90% of children of Chango are diviners in some way, some form, somehow. Whether they are babalaos, whether they are oriateses, whether they are espiritistas, or even great ganguleros, in Mayombe. In my opinion, because Omar said everything, all the negative stuff about my father Chango, I'm going to say the
Right.
positive,
And he
right?
was keeping it real. You know what I'm saying? We
Um,
got
Chango,
it.
I'm going to speak because I'm not, I got it, I think Chango is, on top of everything Omar mentioned, Chango is what brings us happiness. I think that's what it is. And for those who have had the blessing of being present in Anya in our drummings, right? Every time they play for Chango, it's something that even if you don't know how to dance, you're
Mhm,
dancing. That's his energy. And his children also give you that energy, when they walk in. And I know
mhm,
somebody in the chat said ego. And yes, there is a lot of children of Shango who carry, unfortunately, this ego mentality, but many of them don't. They're just, I feel that the shine that their father gives them, they can't help it, and sometimes to some people it might sound as an ego, right? But I
mhm.
think that's what Chango is. Chango is it's life. Chango is music, because he is, that's what he is. The drums, the
The
music,
I hear about
in
that.
Cuba, for example.
Mhm,
I've mentioned this a lot in my lives and in my posts. In Cuba, it is, incorporating the orichas, incorporating Ifa into our
mhm,
music. It's something very, very normal over there, right? It's
mhm.
not something that it's like seeing, even those who are not practitioners are dancing to Lukumi music, right?
Of
And
course.
some of the greatest, salseros out there in Cuba and producers are children of Chango. And
Yeah.
and to me, I only speak this because that's the love of my life. And
You
he
can't say
was
any
over
name,
here
right?
throwing shots and saying all this. So I was like, wait a minute now, we gotta balance it out. But I think him and his children are our life, are that party. They're the when they get it's always about that. It's like even when Omar, it's the women, the drinking,
Mhm.
the love,
Whoa, wait a minute. You explain
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
right
yeah,
there,
yeah, yeah.
bro.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah.
Because that
Look.
didn't sound right.
the what?
You said even with Omar, the women, the drinking.
No, even with what you're
Oh,
saying that he can't be drinking
Oh,
and stuff
okay,
like
all
that.
right, yeah, okay.
He
yeah,
he's the party.
you need
He's the
your own
house.
TV
You know
show,
he.
man. Yeah, yeah. Before y'all go any further, as the Cubans say, Casa Cerrado. Hold up, hold up,
Listen,
hold up,
he's
hold up.
he's the party. Listen. You wanna and 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 I want to mention before we dig deeper, because I know you
Mhm,
mentioned prior to asking us the question,
Mm,
of him and his demeanor, right?
yeah.
And what Omar was mentioning on how he has this, Chango has this image of being strong and this
Mm,
attitude, and I think that's the connection that him and Obatala have. That
yeah.
Obatala, a lot of people think that he was an orisha that was always very calm, but yet in many many patakins, many stories,
Mm.
he was a lot stronger and had worse demeanor than Chango. And I
I heard.
think that's the beautiful connection, um that it comes with these two orichas, even with their children, and I posted a couple weeks ago something that a lot of alawalas, a lot of old santeros always say, that children of Obatala, we're the only ones that could calm them down, right? Because it's the connection that they have. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a saying in Lukumi that we say, no existe Obatala, no existe Chango sin Obatala, ni Obatala sin Chango, meaning that one doesn't exist without the other, and it's
Of
that
course.
connection that they have. And there's a patakin that's born, that quote is born in, and I think it's beautiful. To me, it's everything. And a lot of children of Obatala, our demeanor could sometimes come off like, oh, like for example, I'm gonna put my example. My elder, when she met me, they were
Mm-hmm.
so, desperate to get me my hand of Ifa, because
Mm-hmm.
she thought that I was a child of Chango because of how I was prior to crowning. I was a person like Omar mentioned, some of the stuff that Chango does. I was that person.
Slapping
I
people.
didn't care.
Mm, it's
Yeah, I
okay.
didn't care if
Mhm.
you looked at me sideways, it was on and popping, and I'm very blessed that Obatala
Yeah,
took my head and was, no, we need to calm you down. So I think it's a beautiful connection, and those two orichas are very, very important.
that's dope. That's dope. I like that. So, question for this is for Obatala. What plants or herbs are sacred to Obatala?
She's the woman for that.
I mean, Obatala has a lot of plants. One of the most important plants that we use not only in Lukumi or in initiations of Ocha, but
Mm-hmm.
also in Ifa and even in Espiritismo, um, it's a plant called siempreviva, right? That's a plant that is very, very big for Obatala, and it's a Aleo friendly, meaning it could be used for anything, especially to cover your ori and it calms you down, right? How do you say
Mm.
it in
How you say it in
Yoruba?
English? Look for
In
that plant.
Yoruba.
In Yoruba, it's known as ewe dundun.
Ewe dun dun.
Ewe dundun.
Okay, you
Mm.
have another plant which is called paraíso, and I'm only going to mention them in Spanish because that's when it comes
Yeah.
to my godchildren know my saying. When it comes to brujeria, I only know me English is very little.
That's okay. That's
Um,
okay.
but you have paraíso, which is a very very important plant as well. We
Mm-hmm.
use it a lot when it comes to our development, when it comes to espiritismo. Um,
Mm.
Obatala's energy is very, very present in our Espiritismo Cruzado in Cuba. Why? Because of many energies that probably you are aware of based on your knowledge in voodoo, that have to do with the white cloth, that has to do a lot with his energy, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of these plants that I'm mentioning, these plants can be used in all practices, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have atiponlá, that also, and that's the Yoruba name, atiponlá. It
Mm-hmm.
belongs to Obatala. It belongs to Elewa. It is one of the five most important plants that has to be in initiation, right? You have bledo blanco, which has to be in the initiation. It's one of the five. um, you have a lot of plants. I could sit here and mention a bunch of plants.
Mm-hmm.
But at least those that I mentioned right now are like the most important ones when it comes to Obatala. Even for the ones who are aleyos, who are children of Obatala, these are plants that you guys can use to do, spiritual baths, to cleanse your home. Um, a very important plant that people need to have be careful with,
Mm-hmm.
that Obatala does not like, and
Yes.
his children should not be touching it or should not have it in their homes, unless they have, for example, initiations in other practices and they use it in other practices. It
Mhm.
is called anamu, and it's
I-
Ananu, and a lot of people confuse it with alamo, which belongs to Chango, and it's not.
Mm.
It ends with the U. That is a plant that Obatala cursed. So he does not like that particular plant. So
Oh wow.
that's a plant that we have to be very, very, very careful with. Um, I can't see the chat. I know there's people writing and asking
Oh
questions,
yeah.
but I can't see
There,
the.
quite a few. We got Violet saying siempreviva.
Yeah, siempreviva is the first one that I mentioned.
Mm,
That's an amazing plant. Some other plant that I mean for Chango, I could mention some plants. For Chango, you have animal, you have rompe saraway, which is very well known from songs of Hector Lavoe that sang many songs. You have
mhm,
rompe saraway, you have siguaraya, belongs to Chango as well. Um, Chango's plants are very, very strong, which is kind of funny because Obatala's plants is like very easy plants that you could use and they won't
mhm,
like affect you and give you rash. But then Chango plants is like they with everything, right? But at least the
mm.
five ones that I mentioned for Obatala are the ones that have to be in all initiations are now the most important for him.
Now we got to get you guys back on here, man, because there's so much information I'm hearing. And again, and I respect, like I said, all practices, not to violate oaths, codes, and secrets. So I love how you guys keep it very clean and straightforward, right? What is the significance of red and white color combination for Shango?
Mm.
Because I always see that. I always
That comes
question
from
what is
that
that?
saying that I said, no existe Obatala sin Chango sin Obatala.
So
Oh, what? I'm
yeah.
So the saying that I mentioned, that's where the bead,
Mhm,
that bead comes from.
So and I forget off the top of my head, I forget the particular Odu that it's
mhm,
born that it's manifested in. But just in short, Chango's ileke, his necklace, in
mhm,
for the most part in the Lukumi tradition, is red and white,
mhm,
right? And in the story, in this particular Odu, it mentions that his ileke used to actually be completely red.
mm.
But because of something that happened between him and, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think it was Obatala, it was
It
Ochanla,
was old Chanlache.
right? Ochanla is an Orisha who, some people will say is Obatala female, and some people will say was just a female Orisha that also
Mhm.
has to do with the white cloth and everything that's white. But for the most part, it was his giving thanks to this particular Orisha, and that's why his ileke, his necklace, became red and white. So it's in
Gotcha.
honor of Ochanla.
Mm.
In our path,
Oh.
me and Omar's path, we have Obatala Ayáguna, which many old people would say that it's there's a saying that they say that it's the Chango that's hidden, right? Our
Mm.
color is red and white. So our batala is red and white. And it has to do a lot. Children of Ayaguna, Maferefun, Chango every day in their lives. Usually they have to be placed, and given the same respect as one another.
Got you. It's so great. I came across people that from the Santeria local meat practice, if I'm saying it correctly, and they spoke about Shango to me, right? I think they did something. I don't. Well, they sat me down and they said we're gonna call something and this and that. We're gonna find out what's that with you, right? And when I found out, I was like, "Nah, you bugging, bro. I don't believe that." And it was a situation in my past life. I was a wild individual. You know what I'm saying? But my godmother, she called somebody from Cuba for me, and he came down from Cuba, and I remember he gave me this little thing, like a stone that had like black and red beads on it.
Oh,
I'm trying to
Mapute.
remember.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
and it was so crazy what happened. I had this thing in my pocket. I went to this public gathering, a parade, I somehow lost that thing, and I was flipping out. I'm like, damn, son, I lost at the parade. Lo and behold, I went home, fell asleep. Next morning, I woke up. That thing was right under my pillow. I'm like, it wasn't here, bro. And I was like, nah, this is. I'm like, this thing wasn't here. I'm looking at. I remember I called them. I'm like, yo, what the hell? Like, my heart was beating fast. I'm like, yo, this thing knows me. I kept it on me for a while. Like, like, and I was getting so many, like, having so many dreams. And I remember at the house, she came over. I had like tray or whatever, apples, whatever. And I remember just sitting down one day. I'm like, yo, why do I feel drunk? And I wasn't even drinking. And I'm like, I smell cigars. Well, what the hell's going on in here? And I was like, you know what? I'm not messing with this stuff. Let me stick to my little corner. This right here is a little different. Cause I'm like, well, I'm feeling drunk for no reason. This is something different. It's like that's that Shango energy. I'm like, that is wild, yo. And
Yeah,
then
his energy is unique, and I think he picks his kids very well. In my opinion, he picks them for for the right reasons.
what
They
is that
might be
called again?
show outs and have this ego, but children of Chango have very good hearts.
Now she what?
Um,
Yo, oh my god,
they have
she
very
is.
good hearts. And I can't speak for everyone, because I don't like. There's one thing that I can't stand is those videos where they have, well, children of Obatala, and it's like, and now everybody thinks it's the same. I can't stand those videos. But from my experience, Chango he's very big in my life, very, very, very big in my life, and I've had the blessing of having a lot of children of Chango in my life. And they're the ones that I've had, and they could have real strong attitudes. Some could
Mm-hmm,
be the worst criminals to being real nice, but
mm-hmm.
their hearts, it's what
Heart of gold.
defines them.
I
It's
met, I met
really
I met a few that were the children and like they're very given, down to earth. But man, I'm
they
something
they
else when
ready
they
to
ain't.
turn up. They ready to
Yeah,
turn up.
I'm like, bro, you left it right there. Relax, bro. It's not that serious. Like, nah, it's not this. Go sit down somewhere, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I like to know what is the significance of the axe, if I'm saying correctly, and the lightning with Shango, the thunder or lightning. What is that?
Well, the axe is one of his weapons, which
Okay.
that's what he uses. That's one of his weapons. Each orisha has a weapon, you know, like for example, Oya, it's the eroke, which is the it's like a horse tail, right? And that's what she uses, and the machete as well. So
Mm-hmm.
that's her biggest tools. Um, Chango has those type of tools as well. The axe, the machete also he uses as well.
And the lightning bolt is his um
Has
it's what describes him,
a chain.
right?
Mm,
Every orisha is associated with some type of element of nature.
got you.
And so his element of nature is the lightning.
Oh,
It's
that's
the
dope.
thunder. He's the thunder, fire. He's ready to start anything.
He can hit you from anywhere. Like, I bet lightning your ass over there. Like thunder your
Yeah.
All right. So what are the common misunderstandings about um Shango and Obatala in current understanding of culture in current times?
So I think the misunderstanding, and this probably goes back to what we were talking about earlier, about
Mm-hmm.
how we as human beings are not the orishas,
Action.
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I think a misunderstanding is trying to describe an individual based on who they're the child of,
Mm,
right? Or a person um, maybe misinterpreting the characteristics of the particular Orisha that they are the child of and thinking that they are supposed to um, copy those characteristics, right? Shango, if you're a child of Shango, no, you're not supposed to, be a womanizer. You're not supposed to be out
Action.
in the streets. You're not supposed to be, doing all of these things that you think gives you a right to do it. Chango
Mm,
is not telling you go out and be a cheater. And that
mm,
goes for either the male or the female, because obviously there are women who are children of Chango.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't
mm,
give them the right, to go out and cheat. That has nothing to do with it. Same thing with the children of Obatala. I think there's a misconception that, we're humble, we're passive, we're um, you know,
mm,
patient.
And
mm.
many are the opposite.
This one
Many.
right here is not patient. So, you know, and exactly, many of children of Obatala are opposite of what people think.
Ache.
What they
My
assume.
mother is a child of Obatala. She was crowned
Mm,
Obatala. And my mother is like, she'll blow up on you in a second.
yeah. Mothers
She'll
are
and,
known for
and
that.
she's always had
Yeah.
a very strong character. And in fact, she's a child. And Xenia mentioned this earlier, because there are different paths, different characteristics of Obatala. Even though Obatala is one Orisha, he
Hmm.
had different avatars, if you want to
Yeah.
call it that,
Mm-hmm.
because they manifested themselves at different times. So when they manifested themselves at different times, they had different characteristics, even though it's the same Orisha. And
Gotcha.
so my mother's path of Obatala is one of the oldest. Ochagriñan is
Mm,
very old, very wise, very frail. But my mother's the total opposite of that.
mm.
She's
Yeah.
complete opposite.
I want to say, get out of my head because I was about to ask you that. Are there times where both separate Orishas could become one? I'm always sound like some kind of Dragon Ball Z cartoon right now, but somehow they come together as one. Is that possible? Does that happen?
No.
Like,
Not come as one. I
no, no, but
think, for example, I think some people's, and I think this happens a lot once you initiate, and for example, us in Lukumi, that we have a mother and a father, a
mm,
lot of the energies will reflect on us.
Mm.
A lot of the
mm,
energies will reflect in us. That's why a lot of people will say, oh my God, you don't even look at like a child of this person,
mm,
of this Orisha. And then when you tell them their mother, or you tell them their father, like, oh wow, you're this, you
yeah.
know. A lot of people, I think one of the biggest misconceptions that they have with Shango and Obatala, one is, from me, from what I've seen, children of Ochango, when they're truly in love, they're not out there being, doing what they gotta do. Like women and men, they are very, very loyal partners. And I
See,
think that's a huge misconception, that a lot of people think that because Chango had all these different women, he married and was with all these different women and stuff. No, his children are the complete opposite when it comes to love. And I think with Obatala, that a lot of people have that misconception that we are supposed to be calm. And a lot of santeros that I've talked to, they always used to tell me, fear when a child of Obatala is calm, because 9 out of 10 we're always very like loud, and we're always ready to start. So they always used to say, when you see a child of Obatala calm, that is the energy of Obatala truly on them. So you need to fear them,
hmm,
because people always think that the warriors have this strong demeanor. Chango has
hmm,
this strong demeanor. Agayu, there's nothing more stronger than Obatala.
hmm.
Here's and
Quiet
here's
storm.
another and here's something else that a lot of people might not know. Obatala originally was the Orisha of war, and
Matured.
he traded that position with Ogun.
Mm,
So Obatala still has a lot of characteristics, and a lot of his paths have to do with going to war, going to battle.
Ache.
One of the most well known is our path of Obatala, which is Obatala Ayáguna, which is the youngest of the Obatala paths, and
hmm.
he's often confused with Chango, and that's why this particular Obatala has red in his ilekes, in his beads. It's mostly white, but he has red, and he's associated with the color red because they used to confuse him with Shango. They didn't. A lot of times they would not know if it was Shango or if it was Obatala, and so that's where that characteristic sometimes comes from. Where we're like, we're not always calm, we're not
Mm-hmm.
always, cool. We are.
We are gonna tell you how it is.
Yeah.
That's one thing about children of Obatala. If you want honesty and you want like for them to tell you the truth, find you a child of Obatala, because they'll sing it like they singers in a chorus. Like they don't, they're very, and a lot of, I don't know if there's any initiated, priests on the live right now, but children of Obatala, working with children of Obatala initiations, they're by the book. They won't put up with any BS. If something's wrong, they're going to tell you, hey, this is wrong, you fix it. You know,
Exactly.
it's very similar like children of Yemaya, they do the same thing. They're by the book. They don't play that. Not saying there's gonna be one or two that aren't good, but
Yeah.
for the most part, 90% they're very like they'll tell you how it is.
No, definitely. I appreciate you guys for coming out, man. You both of you are like encyclopedias talking to both of y'all, and y'all so young. Y'all relate to those who are seeking to get on this path, which is beautiful. Continue doing your work.
Thank you.
Stay
Appreciate
humble.
you.
Keep on
Thank
educating.
you.
And as you're saying about being humble, it kind of remind me of my late uncle. He always said, "Yo, I'll go upside your head and hit you with a quote from the Bible after."
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like that, and it's so beautiful that you guys are on here doing your thing. Shout out to the real people on TikTok that's listening,
Thank
YouTube,
you.
Instagram, to all you fake practitioners out there. They're gonna
Yeah. And
catch you,
before
and
we
you're gonna.
leave, I just want to mention that I really appreciate this opportunity because it gives us the chance and it gives us the opportunity to
Mhm.
try um to to bring together
I
Mhm.
hear.
communities, right?
Of course,
Because again, I was born in a Cuban household, but I was born here in the United States.
of
I
course.
grew up thinking I was, you know, anybody who ever asked me, they were like, Where you from?" I'm like, "I'm African American."
Hmm.
My idea, I of just because I spoke Spanish was just like, to me, that was like, oh, I just happen to speak Spanish, but I'm black,
Hmm.
But as I've grown in this practice, I've noticed the separation or there's certain conflicts that exist, and we have to talk about it. We have to talk about the
Oh
elephant
yeah,
in
we
the
do.
room.
No, we
There's
do.
there's certain conflicts that exist between Latinos and Black Americans that are now coming into this, right?
Yes, yes.
And
Unfortunately.
so I've
Hmm.
always said, since I've gotten on social media for TikTok for about 3 years,
Hmm.
um, I've always said that one of my main goals was to bridge that gap, right?
Hmm.
Because me personally, I've always felt that I represented both.
Hmm.
I've always represented both. That's to me. I was a
And you are
child
though.
growing up. I went to an African American school. I didn't know any difference. I didn't know that there was a difference. Oh, Latino and black. No, I'm black. So. But now, now that this is more out in the open, more, um, I don't know if you want to call it commercial, but
No, it
a
is.
lot of
It's
people are
commercial.
talking more about, ATRs
Hmm.
and whatnot. I'm trying to bridge the gap because there's a lot of issues, there's a lot of problems that we're still seeing.
Brother
And
Omar,
so
hold your thought right there, because that's what I'm saying. Get out of my head, man. Because I was gonna ask those questions. I swear to God, I have it written down. Like I'm gonna ask questions
I
about that
mean, yeah, we
because with these
definitely got to do a
ATRs,
part two.
no, we do have
We
to
got,
do a part two, because with the ATR, even down like you said, Ifa, Santeria, Apollo, Haitian Voodoo, there are a lot of misconceptions when people think people are trying to gatekeep culture. That's not the case.
Ache.
And
that's not the
again,
case.
we're not prejudiced. I'm gonna say this. I don't care if I catch flack on this. We're not prejudiced, but before a European come into this practice, you better know the history. You gotta know what you're
Ache.
dealing with. You gotta know
Ache.
what you're doing, because you're not calling on Paul Bunyan. You're not calling on Spider Man. You're calling on, you know, indigenous, you calling on Tainos, you calling on Africans. So study the culture,
Ache.
respect the people. Don't try to profit off of it. With that being said, Omar, my brother, we gotta have a part 2. We gotta come. We gotta come back.
we got to get
Xenia,
together.
I
you gotta come back.
appreciate you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank
Mhm.
you for what
Appreciate
you're
you.
doing.
Yeah,
And once again, thank you. I appreciate you.
all the time, man. Peace and love, people. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe. You'll find them on TikTok. And we out.
Peace and
Bye.
shake.
Peace.